Good morning.
Good morning.
And welcome to what we hope are further sessions brought to you by the legislative branch here. The first one is, I'm going to introduce Suzanne Marinelli, and I've talked to her by phone. I talked to her this morning. I saw her bio, and I really think this is not going to be one of those sit down, boring, go to sleep kind of presentations. She's a very warm-hearted and enlightening person. So let me read the bio, and I think you'll feel the same. Suzanne Marinelli was raised in a tiny coal mining community in Virginia's Appalachian Mountains and lived for many years in Williamsburg, the colonial capital during the American Revolution. She owes her fascination with our nation's political underpinnings to those years, and especially to Thomas Jefferson, an early and influential resident of that town. Suzanne moved to Kauai in the early 80s, then lost her home to Hurricane Iniki in '92. She immigrated to Honolulu a year later to take a temporary job with an organization that wanted to establish its identity at the legislature. At the Capitol, she discovered a place called the Public Access Room, or PAR, P-A-R, where patient staff members answered her thousands of questions that helped her become a better advocate for the organization she was representing. Having contracted the political virus, Suzanne thereafter took various jobs at the legislature and soon realized it was process rather than policy that called to her. Settling into employment in the PAR, she became its coordinator or chief head grown up in charge in 2000. She continues with her staff to help Hawaii's citizens learn how to be more effectively involved in her own governance. So the material, this session will be taped and aired on Naleo in the future, and the material that you see here and the slideshow will be on our website soon after this presentation. So without further ado, Suzanne Marinelli, please.
So now I'm going to, is that it? Okay. It's hard enough listening to me when I'm not amplified. But anyway, thank you very much for this chance to be on such a wonderful island in such a rainy, what is it? Hilo's such a rainy old town. The Big Island is such a rainy old island this week. It's been wonderful to be here. So anyway, I'm going to start just with a couple of images. This is the Public Access Room's website. I'm going to start here to let you know that if you go to our website, which is hawaii.gov/LRB, because we are one of the 5 divisions of the Nonpartisan Legislative Reference Bureau, /PAR, and here's our site, and in here you will find, under workshops, you will find our current schedule of Big Island workshops, and you can see that they have kept me busy this week. And further down you will find this presentation is here, and it's a large file. It's 20 megs, and so you can read it separately as a PDF, which is a much smaller file. And be mindful that if you go in and access the notes version, we have developed detailed notes that go along with the images. And we do this partly because we've all been to presentations and somebody will have a PowerPoint presentation and you go, oh, that makes sense. And you go home and it's like, huh? And so those notes versions will give expanded information. And we initially did that to help out a fellow who was going to come to one of our presentations. He was deaf and we could not find a signer. And so we used that opportunity to expand the information, then make it available to everybody else. The second thing, I won't go through a lot on our page, but let me go here to newsletters. And you have a handout, which is our November newsletter. We typically only do newsletters during the legislative session, 4 or 5 of them. But because the legislature has completely revamped their website to great advantage, but it's a hugely different site than it was a month ago. And so we created a newsletter to help people get an idea of how the new website works. And of course, without any warning, they changed it again yesterday. But we'll deal with that in just a minute. I would also point out that if you are interested in budgetary matters, if you just can't live without tracking the state budget, you need help. But you can come in here to the February 2010 newsletter, and there is a 2-page overview on how to access and hopefully understand the state budget a little bit. It's a really arcane and very large document, and so that hopefully will be of assistance to you. So here we go. I call our presentation We the Powerful because it's really important to me that people understand that you and I, the mere mortals in this big equation, are why we have a government. We are the government, and we are the central components of the government, and the power rests in a democracy with the individuals that are the government. And we are the authorities in what works in our lives. And the legislators need the input that we can provide to them because they cannot possibly make intelligent, informed decisions about the many things that they have to consider without the input of the people who actually know the subjects that they're talking about. So in the entire, we got to toot our own horn a little bit here. In the entire United States, there is only one state that has seen fit to create an office like our public access room, and that is Hawaii. We will be 22 years old in March, and we are just really grateful that the legislature has created this resource, and they did it partly because they understood that it is an intelligent it's intelligent input into the hearings process that will help them rather than people just going off at the mouth and not really knowing what they're talking about. And so it's a wonderful thing. So when you come to visit us, and I'm not going to say if, I'm going to say when you come to visit us at the Capitol, we're in room 401. It is your office. And so make sure you come and visit us. We're a year-round office. I've handed out some little trifold flyers, and this information here will be in those, but just a quick overview of what our office has. We have 5 public computers, and we are completely ADA compliant. One of our stations is will accommodate wheelchairs, and another has software that will read websites to blind people. And we have a TTY telephone, and we do everything we can to help the entirety of our population, and not just the people who live in Honolulu. I come from Kauai in the 80s, and up until Hurricane Iniki moved me. And so, and I was politically active, and I understand how hard it is for neighbor island people to get the resources that they need out of the state governance. And so it's really important to me that we serve our neighbor island communities as well as we serve the people in Honolulu. And so with the exception of the island of Ni'ihau, we go to all of the neighbor islands in advance of the legislature beginning so that we can help people in small communities around the state be actively involved in their own governance. So when you come to visit us, you can come in and just sit down and chill if you want to, read the funny papers, although we have fewer funnies than we used to. But I also put this up here so that you'll be reminded that we do broadcast about 350 hours a year of live hearings and briefings. And those go to the neighbor islands, to every island except Kauai, because the people at Ho'ike, which is the equivalent of Naleo, have decided that the people of Kauai are not interested in what happens at the state capitol, and so that's an ongoing discussion that I haven't won yet. So, but in any event, we also are archiving all of our broadcasts now on the legislature's website, and so everybody in the state that has access to a computer can go and watch those broadcasts as well. is a wonderful thing. The two of us on the right in this image, myself and Virginia Beck, are the year-round full-time people, and then we hire 2 sessions staff. And so the 4 of us will be kind of getting the show on the road starting in January through about mid-May.